If you think heartbreak hurts, wait till your ex becomes your landlord. The first time he called her too local, he did it with a laugh. The last time he saw her, she was sitting across from him in a glass boardroom, sliding an eviction notice and a termination letter across the table with his name on both. If you think heartbreak hurts, wait till your landlord is your ex. That's the story I'm about to tell you gets better or worse depending on who you ask. It started in a small village in Anambra, the kind of place where everyone knew who killed which goat for Christmas and whose daughter came home with a swollen belly. Chica grew up there, barefoot on red soil, the kind of girl who could balance a bucket of water on her head and still wave at you with both hands. She had dreams bigger than the village, but pockets so empty even mosquitoes ignored her at night. Her only luxury was time, and she poured all of it into a boy named Femi. Femi was the village Lagos boy, even though he only visited Lagos twice. He wore his one pair of faded, skinny jeans like were imported designer, and whenever he spoke English, the younger boys stared at him like he was CNN. He loved to talk about the city, Lekki this, island that, my uncle's estate. Chica listened with wide eyes, like every word was a ticket out of poverty. They were that couple everyone expected would eventually marry, going to the stream together, sharing roasted corn on market days, holding hands under the mango tree after evening church. When Chica talked about going to university, Femi would squeeze her hand and say, "Don't worry, once I blow in Lagos, you will not suffer again." He promised to sponsor her education, help her leave the village life behind. She held on to those promises like oxygen. Then Lagos called for real. Femi's uncle secured him a junior role in a logistics firm on the mainland. The night before he left, Chica cooked him jollof rice with the last tin of tomato in her mother's kitchen. He ate, wiped his mouth, and said, "When I make it, you'll be the first person I'll come back for." For the first few months, Lagos sounded like heaven. Femi's calls were full of excitement, offices with AC, colleagues who wore suits every day, buildings with elevators. He started sending her pictures on WhatsApp. Him in a new shirt, him with a lanyard around his neck, him standing in front of glass doors. Chica would press the phone to her chest at night and smile in the darkness. But slowly the calls began to change. This part shocked me. He started picking at her accent. Chica tried to speak more polished on the phone, eh? "My friends are around." He laughed at her village proverbs, calling them bush talk. When she asked about the promise to help her study, he'd say, "Let me settle first. Lagos is not beans." One day she gathered courage and applied to a polytechnic in Anambra. She called him, voice shaking with excitement. "Femi, I got admission. I can study business administration. The school fees are not too much. If you can just help with half." He went quiet for a few seconds, and then he sighed. "Chica, you're rushing things. Besides, what will a village girl like you be doing in Polytechnic? Just relax. I'll take care of you when I'm stable." Her joy dropped like a stone in a well, and life was just getting started. Months later, he posted a picture on Instagram, him at a rooftop lounge in Lekki, arm around a light-skinned lady in a bodycon dress. The caption read, "Stepping up, leaving the past where it belongs." Chica stared at the photo until the image blurred. She didn't comment, didn't like it, just swallowed the sting. He began to visit the village less. This part really shocked me. When he finally came back for Christmas after nearly 2 years, he wore a sharp blazer and sunglasses at night. Chica rushed to see him, wearing her best wrapper and the only heels she owned, the ones she bought second-hand in the market. He greeted her with a side hug, his perfume heavy and unfamiliar. They walked to the mango tree where they used to sit. This time Femi didn't sit. He leaned against the trunk, scrolling his phone. "Femi, about my admission," she began. "I deferred last year because of money. They said I can still join next session if I pay early. I've been saving from my little trading. If you can just..." That was when he said it properly, clearly, like a judge reading a sentence. "Chica, let's be honest. You're too local for the kind of life I want now." The words hit her like a slap. He didn't stop. "Look at you, still in this village, still tying wrapper. My colleagues in Lagos, their babes are polished. They speak phonetics, they've traveled. I can't carry you to those places." He gestured around as if the entire village was her fault. She felt something crack quietly inside her. "So I'm not good enough now?" she asked, voice thin. He shrugged. "You're a good girl, but good is not enough. I need someone that fits my future. You fit my past." He pushed off the tree, dusted his blazer, and added, "Let's just end things. It's better than dragging you along. There are heartbreaks that come with shouting and drama. This one came with silence." Chica walked home, each step heavier than the last, but her eyes stayed dry. Her mother took one look at her and knew, but she didn't ask questions. Sometimes pain speaks loudly even when the mouth is shut. That night, while other girls in the compound whispered about Christmas cloth and boys, Chica made herself a promise. If being too local was the problem, she would give herself a new story, but not by bleaching her skin or twisting her tongue into fake accents. She would upgrade her mind, her skills, her bank account. One thing about quiet girls, when they decide, the world will adjust. She sold almost everything she could. Her jewelry, half her clothes, even the small stereo Femi once gifted her. With the money she'd saved from petty trading and help from a distant aunt, she paid her polytechnic fees. She moved to town, squeezed into a hostel room with 3 other girls, and started lectures with a second-hand laptop that overheated every 20 minutes. Whenever she felt like quitting, she remembered Femi's voice saying, "You fit my past." In school, she discovered something. She was brilliant. Group assignments, she carried them. Presentations, she turned them into mini stage shows using simple English but powerful logic. Lecturers started using her work as examples in class. Her village proverbs became metaphors in her presentations, and people clapped. To survive, she took a part-time job at a small hair salon near campus. During the day, she attended lectures. Evenings, she washed hair, did braids, and listened to people's stories. The salon owner, Auntie Bissy, loved her. "You have business sense, my dear," she'd say. "One day, this your brain will build something big." Chica smiled, hands moving fast through someone's hair, mind always calculating. One evening, a lady walked into the salon looking frustrated. Her wig was bad, her mood worse, and her phone did not stop ringing with the word head office flashing each time. While Chica detangled the wig, the woman sighed. "I'm tired. Managing people who don't understand basic customer service is stress." Chica, ever curious, asked, "What kind of company do you manage, Ma?" The woman laughed. "We're a small logistics startup. We're trying to build something big. But sometimes I feel like I'm dragging people." Logistics. The word hung in the air like a ghost of a past life. Chica remembered Femi's firm in Lagos. It was also a logistics company. They talked as she worked, about customers, about systems, about how Nigerian businesses loved vibes but hated structure. Without even trying, Chica began suggesting ideas, simple things like tracking sheets, feedback forms, and incentive programs for riders. The woman's eyes lit up. "You, this village-looking girl, how do you know all these things?" Chica smiled. "Business is the same in village and city, Ma, only the packaging changes." The woman introduced herself as Ifeoma, the co-founder of a young logistics company expanding across Nigeria. By the time the wig was restored and the eyebrows were done, Ifeoma had made up her mind. "After your exams, come and intern for us in Oka branch," she said. "We can't pay much yet, but you will learn plenty. You're sharper than half the people in my office." Chica nodded, heart hammering. "Yes, Ma, I will come." The internship changed everything. Chica entered the office on the first day with her thrift store blazer and a notebook, ready to prove that village girls could read spreadsheets too. She tackled messy records, reorganized delivery schedules, and created a simple system for complaints that cut customer issues in half. Within 3 months, everyone from dispatch riders to senior managers knew her name. Ifeoma noticed. During one review meeting, she said, "Chica, you think like a founder, not an intern. What do you want to do after school?" Chica swallowed. "I want to build companies. Ma, maybe start with logistics. I want to own something that can change my family's story." Ifeoma leaned back, studying her. "Good. Stay close to me. When opportunity comes, it doesn't like noise. It likes prepared people." Life moved quickly after that. Chica graduated with top honors. Ifeoma offered her a full-time role, then sponsored her for a short business course in Lagos. Stepping into Lagos for the first time as an adult, Chika felt something tight in her chest, a mix of fear, pride, and memory. She stayed focused. While other course mates posted pictures with captions like "Soft Life Activated," Chika spent nights watching YouTube videos about venture capital, reading articles on African startups, and sketching ideas in a worn-out notebook. She started networking quietly, swapping contacts, asking questions, volunteering for events. Her accent stayed the same, her village proverbs now sounding like wisdom in conference halls. Years passed, the logistics company grew. They rebranded, attracted investors, and eventually merged with a larger tech-enabled delivery firm looking to expand into West Africa. Who led the merger negotiations from their side? Chika. Her ideas were so sharp, the new international partners requested she join them at their headquarters in Nairobi for a regional role. She hesitated. Leaving Nigeria meant leaving family, but Ifeoma pulled her aside. Go. You're not running away. You're going to gather tools. One day, you'll come back and build something they've never seen. So Chika packed her single suitcase and flew out, the village girl watching clouds through an airplane window. And life was just getting started. In Nairobi, she bloomed. She led teams, redesigned systems, and learned how global businesses thought. She made mistakes, cried in hotel bathrooms, doubted herself, but every time she remembered Femi saying, "You fit my past," and something fierce pushed her forward. In rooms where people tried to talk over her, she spoke with calm confidence until they listened. Then came the turning point. The global firm decided to invest heavily in Nigeria. They needed a local CEO who understood both the streets and the spreadsheets. They interviewed candidates with foreign accents, long CVs, and Instagram-perfect lives. But the person who best understood the Okada rider in Mushin and the investor in London was the girl who once washed hair for students near a polytechnic. Wait for the twist. On a Wednesday morning in a sunlit boardroom, the regional director slid a folder towards her. "Chika, if you accept, you'll head our Nigerian operations. That includes our new holding company, some real estate assets, and a logistics acquisition we're considering." Chika opened the folder and froze when she saw one of the companies on the list. Femi and Sons Logistics Limited. She blinked. It was the same Lagos firm Femi had bragged about years ago, the one his uncle helped him get into. Except now the company was struggling, poor management, debt, and a reputation for late deliveries. On the second page was another asset, a small but strategic housing estate on the outskirts of Lagos. The document listed current tenants. One name jumped out at her, Femi Adeyemi. Maybe life doesn't have a sense of humor. Maybe it has a whole Netflix special. Chika didn't smile though. She just closed the file slowly and said, "I'll take the role. But give me 6 months to study the Nigerian market properly before we finalize the acquisitions." In her mind, she saw a boy under a mango tree calling her too local. In her heart, something finally exhaled. When she returned to Nigeria, it wasn't by night bus or borrowed money. She landed in Lagos in business class, laptop already open, emails flooding in with the subject line, "Welcome home, CEO." At the airport, a driver held a sign with her name. No one there knew that years ago she'd cried into a thin pillow, wondering if she'd ever leave that village. Her first week was a blur. Meetings, site visits, endless traffic. She visited warehouses, talked to dispatch riders, sat with accountants, listened more than she spoke. When they finally scheduled a due diligence meeting with Femi and Sons Logistics, she felt her heartbeat steady, not race. She had faced bigger storms than an old heartbreak. The day of the meeting, she dressed simply, navy blazer, crisp white shirt, small gold earrings. No designer logo, no flashy makeup, just quiet power. She walked into the glass building, flanked by her team, and sat at the head of the table. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Femi walked in, talking loudly to someone on the phone. He wore an expensive suit that somehow didn't hide the tiredness around his eyes. He didn't look up at first, just kept complaining about these new investors and how we can package the figures. When he finally raised his head and saw her, the world stopped for him. His mouth fell open slightly. Chichika? Her team glanced between them, sensing history. She smiled politely, the kind of smile you give a stranger at a conference. Good morning, Mr. Adeyemi. Shall we begin? Just like that, the boy who once called her too local found himself adjusting his tie like a junior staff. Throughout the meeting, she was all business. She dissected his numbers, questioned his projections, highlighted the weaknesses his managers tried to hide. Each time she spoke, Femi flinched a little, like every word was a reminder of the girl he underestimated. The final blow came when she closed her folder and said, "At this point, acquisition is more realistic than partnership." Afterward, as her team stepped out to take calls, Femi cornered her gently. "Chika, wait, is this really you? You're the CEO they've been talking about." She shrugged lightly. "Life happens." He laughed nervously. "You look different." She met his eyes. "I'm still too local." He swallowed. "Chika, I was young. I didn't know what I was saying back then." She tilted her head. "You knew enough to say it with your chest." He tried to reach for charm. "Let's talk, please. Maybe over dinner we can catch up." She checked her watch. "I don't mix due diligence with dinner, Mr. Adeyemi. My team will contact you about next steps." What Femi didn't know was that the company acquisition was only half the story. The real twist was waiting in the housing estate documents. Weeks later, after the logistics deal was finalized and Femi and Sons became fully absorbed under the new brand, the real estate arm moved to restructure rents. Tenants received letters inviting them to a meeting with the new property company and its landlord representative. Femi sat in his living room, letter in hand, frowning. Rent had increased, and there were rumors the estate might be sold or redeveloped. He was already under pressure, losing control of his company. Debts calling from all directions. "The least they can do," he muttered, "is let a loyal tenant breathe." On the day of the estate meeting, the small hall buzzed with complaints. Tenants fanned themselves with envelopes and grumbled about these foreign investors and dollar people. A young assistant stepped forward. "Please, everyone, the landlord representative is on the way. Let's calm down." They all turned when the door opened. Chika walked in holding a slim folder and a tablet. No entourage this time, just her and a quiet authority that filled the room more than loud footsteps ever could. Femi's hand tightened around his chair. "Again?" he whispered under his breath. The assistant tapped the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet Miss Chika Okafor, CEO of Regional Logistics Holdings and representative of the new property owners." Gasps rippled through the hall. Femi stared at the ceiling like maybe God had pressed the wrong remote. Chika addressed the crowd, explaining new maintenance plans, security upgrades, and flexible payment options for genuine tenants. Her voice was calm, firm, and kind, not the voice of a girl begging for school fees. When the session ended, tenants lined up to discuss their individual cases. Femi waited until the end, chest tight, pride leaking slowly onto the floor. When it was finally his turn, he sat across from her at the small plastic table. For the first time, he looked smaller than the room. "Name?" she asked, flipping open a file. He gave a small, almost embarrassed laugh. "Chika now, you know my name." She tapped her pen on the paper. "For record purposes, Mr. Adeyemi." He cleared his throat. "Femi Adeyemi." She scanned the file. 3 months behind on rent. Several noise complaints. One warning issued for unauthorized minibar business in your flat. He shifted in his seat. "Things have been hard since the company takeover. I'm trying to restructure." She closed the file gently. "I understand, but the property has rules." He leaned forward, desperation finally louder than ego. "Chika, I know I hurt you before. I was stupid proud, but please, don't use landlord power to finish me." She looked at him for a long moment, seeing not the boy under the mango tree, but the man who had never learned humility until life forced him to. "Femi, if I wanted to finish you, I wouldn't be sitting here listening." He looked at her, really looked, and saw what he'd thrown away. Not just a potential wife, but a partner with vision. Do you hate me?" he asked quietly. She shook her head. "No. I outgrew the version of me that needed your approval. Hating you would keep me tied there." He exhaled, shoulders sagging. "So what now?" She slid a paper across the table. This is a revised payment plan. If you follow it strictly for 6 months with no further complaints, we'll renew your tenancy. If not, we'll terminate it." He stared at the document, then up at her. "You're giving me a second chance?" She smiled faintly. "Life gave me one. I'm just passing it on with boundaries." As he signed, hands trembling, she added softly, "And Femi?" He looked up hopeful. "The next time you think someone is too local, remember this day. The accent you mock today may be the signature on your paycheck tomorrow." The sentence landed heavier than any insult he'd ever thrown. Outside the hall, the sun was beginning to set, staining the sky a deep orange. Tenants clustered in small groups, buzzing about the young CEO landlord, who spoke like their sister but negotiated like a foreign consultant. Chica got into her SUV, the same girl who once walked barefoot on red soil, now leaving tire marks on Lagos asphalt. For a moment she sat quietly, watching children play football in the dust, like she once did. Her phone buzzed. It was a voice note from her mother back in the village. "My daughter, I heard you are now a big woman in Lagos. Remember the mango tree where you used to cry, eh? See how God has turned it into your testimony." Chica smiled, eyes shining. "Mommy, I remember. I will always remember." She sent some money home, not as a favor but as habit. Success meant nothing if her people still struggled. As she drove out of the estate, she passed Femi standing outside his block, letter in hand. Their eyes met briefly. He gave a small, genuine nod. No swagger, no performance, just gratitude and regret mixed together. She nodded back, then looked ahead. "Let this story sit with you for a minute." He kicked his village girlfriend out for being too local. Years later, she returned as his CEO and his landlord, not to crush him, but to prove that elevation is the loudest revenge. If anyone ever calls you too local, remember Chica, then go and upgrade your life so much that one day they'll have to queue up and sign documents with your name at the bottom.